That is correct. That is our theme music for the show. Nation of Domination. Maybe not for long. As we fired Brent Calendar.
D'Lo Brown.
The D'Lo Brown of the show. Now we brought in the Kama Mustafa of the show.
I think that if we're going to change the name and still stick with the wrestling motif, I think we should go with the Union.
No.
Little known group.
No.
Ken Shamrock,
No.
Big Show, Test. Come on.
No. Nation of
You
Domination.
could be Mick Foley.
No, I'm The Rock. GM Kolethras, Moe Khan here. This is the Diff 4 podcast. For those curious to know, Brent will be a cameo now. So it'll be like in TV credits, right? When they roll it, starring so-and-so and so-and-so. Guest appearance by Brent Calendar.
Whether he was on the show or not.
Yeah, it's like one of those, when they do like a review like 10 years down the road. Remember that show, Nation Domination? Remember that guy who was there season 1, episode 1? No longer
they
there.
wrote him off of the pilot. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that exactly. Speaking of pilots, let's do the opening drive here. Let's dive into the first game. Justice League Trapstars. Now, Trapstars, I saw them play week 1, and they continue rolling and going here, winning 27-6 over the Justice League team here. Vincent Richard, 4 TDs, 2 INTs. Matt Bruni, 1 TD, 3 INTs. My boy, Mendy Cardichon, 2 catches, 81 yards, 1 TD. How important has been the play of Richard so far? Given again, the Trapstars have been always that team that's gone up and down and too inconsistent in years past.
Oh, in many years past, they're one of our longest-standing Division 4 teams, if memory serves.
They're like the Van Wilder of Div 4.
They're definitely the Van Wilder of Div 4, going with the gold motif and everything. I don't think that it's necessarily Vincent Richard's play, because he's been solid ever since that he's been picked up on this team last year. I think that now having that depth on the team, adding Mendy Cardichon, having the St. Onge brothers as well, he doesn't just have to rely on Pedro Pana. It doesn't necessarily go only on his shoulders, and I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
I think Cardichon so far, and watching their first game last week, his ability to take away one side of the football field really makes the defense so much better than what it was last year, though.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think Mendy Cardichon is a player who's almost exclusively played in Division 5. He's never really played anything higher. He played a little bit with Golden Eagles in Division 3 before injury. We've never really seen him excel at the higher divisions. He played on Bird Gang early on, who were an atrocious team. But now, having found a home with Green Lantern Corps, and then now, hopefully as well in the Trapstars, I think we're finally going to see the best numbers out of him.
Justice League, what can they do to improve themselves moving forward? Again, not the easiest loss to digest.
Yeah, it's not the easiest loss to digest, I agree. This is one of the things where they just need to keep going. They need to take their punches. We mentioned earlier in one of the earlier podcasts, the beatings make you wise. Essentially, what's going to go on for them is that they just need a little bit of work, a little bit of refining, especially being a new team. I think that this is something that will definitely teach them for upcoming games.
Trapstars, we're talking about Mendy Cardichon and his ability to be a force on defense. Is this the best defense in Div 4?
I don't think so at all. I think there are a lot of teams that will definitely take the claim to that throne. There's a lot of 2-0 teams right now. Grip and Rip coming to mind. Shmoney coming into mind as well, even though they're not a very talked about team right now. Off the top of my head, Les Malou, they're a very athletic and strong team. Their teams we'll touch on later on in the show as well.
Well, look, I'll say this about Trapstars again. 8 INTs so far as a unit. That's pretty impressive through 2 games.
2 games against 2 new teams, though.
Sure, but I mean, how often do you see the top 2 teams get 8 INTs in the first 2 games of a year?
I honestly like where you're coming from, but you could also make the argument that they're a product of their schedule right now.
Unless you're the Crisp. 6 Fast Guys, Crisp. Game number 2 in our docket here. They get beat. I'm talking about Crisp, that is. 54. I know you were there. That's why I like the little segue there. 54-34. Now, look, going into the year, I thought, hey, listen, this Crisp team could be a Division 3 team, given who's on the roster. You included. Not to say that you're not a part of the whole band over here. Fred Vienne, 8 TD passes. Terrence Morseek, 5 TDs, 2 INTs. I know, obviously, you're in the game, so you can't really, side with one way or the other.
I can side with one way or
okay,
both.
Sure. Let's go with both then. Was this an upset win in your mind?
I think it definitely exposed a lot of Crisp's weakness. Crisp are very, very good offensively, but tend to lack that defensive edge right now. there's no real big game breaker stepping up so far for Crisp. They have a lot of playmakers. Terrence Morsink, Liam Mahoney, Scott Moranowitz come to mind defensively, but no one's really stepped up and been that guy on defense. You have many minds in the huddle talking about what the defense should be run, but there's no real execution.
So was this overconfidence? Considering again, people and look, many people
Overconfidence of other people, maybe.
Well, people coming in here saying, "Hey, look, Crisp are going to roll through."
So where does that land on Crisp's shoulders though? If it's their overconfidence.
Well, one thing of Crisp, I think Coffee Crisp sometimes.
Okay, Coffee Club.
And I mean, when you think about it right now, overconfidence or lack of preparation, maybe.
I don't think it's lack of preparation. I would side a little bit more with overconfidence. I think also the six fast guys plus Ryan, their depth, their speed really brought forth the kinks in Crisp's armor. They were able to expose the smaller parts of where Crisp are really, really weak. And when they exposed it, they just continued doing it.
You mentioned about the depth for six fast guys. Going to the year, and I'm still cautious about six fast guys. No, you guys, Simo, and you being the Div 4 riders, had them in your top 10. Mm-hmm. Renewed sense of confidence to say, look, we can win without some of our guns who are not there with us this year, that we can go into someone's backyard, or in this case, football field, and win against the big dogs of Div 4.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. I agree with Simo, and I feel dirty for saying that. But, I mean, if you looked at the stats early on last season, the top two receivers, not just on Six Fast Guys plus Ryans, but in the division, were Justin Blanchard and Anthony Garon. Anthony Garon, who was not 100% at that time, still experiencing knee issues.
Who had 2 TDs against Chris.
2 TDs, yes. He comes into this game being the number one receiver and being at full health, and was absolutely used by Six Fast Guys plus Ryan to really springboard them into the pilot seat.
Well, speaking of TDs, show me your TDs and Sandlot Saints. Both losers. 24-24 tie game. Our very own, well, not our very own, but our homeboy, Mike Adana. 4 TDs, 1 INT. Tim Kramer, who's played pretty well on quarterback this time around in week 1. 3 TDs, 1 INT. Simo LaHaye, 90 yards, 2 TDs here. Mike Adana on his way to being a top-tier QB in Div 4.
You haven't worded that as a statement, so you've worded that as a statement and not a question. So I'm going to
maybe
keep looking at you until you ask me the question.
You believe he's on his way?
I love Mike Adana. I don't think he's there yet. I still think he worries a lot. He has trouble reading some of the deeper defenses. He runs a lot of the drags, buys a lot of time with his feet. When you think of the prototypical king quarterback in Division 4, you think of someone who's almost a pure pocket passer but will buy time with their feet when necessary. They drop back deep from the snap and really have the arm to get it deep. They can throw 40 yards effortlessly. I don't know if Mike Adana is there yet. I think that he has a great understanding of the game, very athletic. He uses how he plays at receiver at quarterback and finds ways to expose defenses, but I don't think he's that quarterback yet.
Well, there were some throws he made in St. Leo against Sandlot Saints where I thought maybe, say, summer 2013 when I first saw him play quarterback in the spring league, he wouldn't have never made before. There was one play, I believe it was the first play of whatever drive they had, and he threw it over 2 Saint defenders right into the hands of whoever caught that ball, and he scored 40, as you would say, a 40 bomb, right? Mm-hmm. So, Brent Bakken called me up, by the way. Let me this.
Brent Bakken or Brent Hamilton?
Brent Bakken.
Okay.
The rider for Div 6. But there were throws I saw and watched him play from afar, like, hey, you know what? He's starting to show some signs. I think you say, look, he still can't read a deep end defense, but he's showing signs with the right guys and seeing how he played the first 2 games that he could be on his way by the time we talk about this in week 10 of being in the top half.
Without a doubt. And honestly, quarterback has such a big learning curve that I honestly think he's over the hardest part of it.
Tim Kramer, speaking of quarterbacks, Tim Kramer now, I guess, much more comfortable at quarterback. Where do you see him as a quarterback?
I see him right now. He is another player who has great understanding at the game. Quarterback is definitely not his natural position, but this is a team where he's having a lot of fun. They're gonna have their ups and downs. It goes without saying, but I think that this is not my preferred position to watch Tim Kramer play, but it's great to see him as quarterback. He's got Anthony Luca on the team as well, a name we haven't heard in FPF for a little while now after being out for injury, former teammate of Moe Khan's as well.
That's correct.
I think that he's definitely going to be the go-to player on this team. When you think of Silent Saints, you're going to think of Tim Kramer and you're going to think of Anthony Luca as well.
Moving ahead, who do you like more, the Saints or Show Me Your TDs?
I think Show Me Your TDs have a lot more depth right now. I think that they have the poise and the ability to go a little bit further, whereas I don't think Sandlot Saints will be deep enough.
Any other Week 2 observations that you saw? I mean, there's a bunch of Div 4 games that I saw. I mean, look, I still think it's early to tell who's going to be what. I know our next day we're talking about the best 2-0 teams and the worst 0-2 teams here. But so far after 2 weeks, your observations.
I'm very, very happy with the depth in the division. Simon Dagenet and I, both D4 Raiders, we predicted the games. We both went 9-10, but got different games wrong. So that goes to show you that there's a lot more depth and parity in this division than initially thought. I think it's still wide open as well. I think a lot of the front runners are starting to die down a little bit. I'm starting to sell my stock in the teams I had early on, and I'm starting to look a little bit more at some of the other teams.
Well, if you wanted to know Simon Dagenet, he was on target Week 1. He hit the midsection of Moe Khan in warm-ups.
It took me a while to realize exactly what you meant by that, and that you were.
I'll show you how it was.
Facetious, nor were you making an
this how
analogy.
it was.
You were being direct.
I was like this, doing the score.
Bear in mind, this is a podcast, and a good half of the people won't actually see this.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying.
Don't you work in radio?
I know, but we have the cameras here.
Okay.
So I was doing this,
guess.
right? And then next thing you know, all I felt was a football. And that was it.
So the clipboard got used not at all for those of you listening.
I'm just saying. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at MoeKhan19GM. Yours is?
At GMKOLE44.
And don't forget, at Flag Plus for those who want to tweet at the FPF Twitter handle. Any tweets? No? Eagle? To see Mitch Mellick's tweet up there on the Geratron 3000.
At the same time, since you're going to be mentioning Eagle can be live tweeted at EagleFPF. If you have any questions you want to ask on the show, he is the one to field them too.
And we'll read it off the Geratron 3000 throughout the show.
Great job of hosting the show.
Thank you.
Excellent, Eagle. Come up next, we will talk about the best 2-0 teams. A bunch of them are there. Who do we like, and who do we think could be the best out of the pack? And 0-2, is that the dreaded doomsday for a team to make the playoffs? Stay tuned here on Nation of Domination with GM, Eagle, and Moe Khan.
Kane is in the building.
What the hell was that? You guys have your own handshake, I saw. A little Moe Khan, Terry Tam handshake. Don't forget, You Never Walk Alone coming up next here at the Uncle Mike Studios in lovely North Central Eastern Laval.
Where are you looking? The camera's here.
I'm looking at Peasy. I'm looking at Peasy right now. I want to let him know that, hey, we're here. Div 4, we're continuing on here on Nation Domination. Of course, it is GM and Moe Khan as Terry munches on some candies before the show. We'll talk about the best 2-0 teams, and there's a bunch of them we'll go through as we look at the Geratron 3000 TV brought to you by Uncle Mike. Let's go through the best 2-0 teams here at GM, and it sort of gives us a precursor of what could happen moving forward. Shmoney, Trap Stars, Black Ice, Six Fast Guys, Malud, Brothers, Backyard Bullies, Grip and Rip, and Playground are the 2-0 teams.
You forgot 69ers.
And 69ers as well. My apologies. Thank you, Eagle. Let's go through Shmoney. We'll go quickly here. Shmoney, Sean McGrath, quarterback. He has dominated this league so far, and they have put up a lot of points through 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. What do you think about them?
So I touched upon them earlier. The bulk of this team is the up-and-coming stars of John Abbott football. Sean McGrath, quarterback. You have 3 receivers as well from John Abbott. You have the Cesare, Chechere brothers, however you want to pronounce it. They're good nonetheless. They're very, very strong. I think they're a team that you're not going to want to slouch on.
We spoke about Trap Stars in our opening segment here about whether or not they have a good defense. At 2-0,
product of their schedule.
Our product of the schedule, which you believe they are. And looking at them right now, at 2-0, what do you think?
I think that at 2-0 right now, they have nothing to prove. And it's all on us. They don't have anything to prove to us because they're already doing it right now. I just think that the glamour is going to fade away after a little while, and we're going to be left with a team which will finish 7-3, 6-4, which is still great, but it's not the top tier team we expect it to be.
Black Ice, a team that many probably thought wouldn't be at this point 2-0, being a Division 5 jump from where they were last year, the last 2 years.
Aside from their off-season acquisitions.
Yes, of course. They've made their team much better at Div 4. Ocean Arrow has been a strong addition from last year, carry over.
James
Nowakowski as well. At 2-0, they did not cover the spread last week. They missed out by 3 points. I said 11.5 point spread. They won by 8. Looking at them, Black Ice.
Totally their fault, eh? I mean,
I blame them.
They should have listened to you.
They were actually feeling the pressure. I said, guys, come on. Black Ice 2-0, and Anderson's playing well. No Ben Joseph last week, but when we look at this team right now, are they a legit 2-0 team?
I think they have all the pieces in place to really float under the radar. It doesn't help that they're 2-0 right now because of the fact that they're a dark horse team. They have all the makings for a dark horse team that can go through and really surprise people who don't necessarily put them at the top with some of the other teams, like Grip and Rip, like the 69ers. So I think they have the potential to sneak under the radar right now, so long as they're not too flashy.
Malud,
former Div 5 champions. They've added Marc-Andre Paradis to the team as well. Great player, les exist. I think they have a lot of tackle knowledge, and they're one of the few teams that has it translate over to good flag game as well.
Brothers, Backyard Brothers are both 2-0 same division. They'll play each other at 1 point, so someone will have to lose or tie. Who knows? Brothers first. What do you think about them as a 2-0 team?
I'm actually really, really surprised at how well the brothers were doing. I watched their game against A-Squad last week. Morgan Tajfel, great quarterback, very, very patient, waits in the pocket, finds his open receivers. Eric Raps, who's lost a ton of weight, is looking very, very trim.
Slim and trim.
Yeah. I think this team right now is looking really good. Another makings for a dark horse team right now.
Backyard Bullies, here's a team I like a lot. Your thoughts on this team?
I think this team right now a lot of it rests on Rich Humes. He's a great quarterback, but I think there is too much pressure on him right now. He needs to rely more on his supporting cast. I think he needs to spread the ball a little bit more, and on defense, on the defensive side of the ball, I think we need other players to really step up.
Well, I thought they stepped up this past week in their victory, and Humes is kind of like a mini Colin Kaepernick. I'll tell you one thing. And when you look at his ability to run the ball, I think that's going to be key for them. If he runs the ball like he did in that victory this week, that will keep them alive in a lot of football games and maybe be the X factor in why they could be a 6, 7, maybe 8-win team.
No!
Who knows? So back our boys. Keep an eye out for them. Finally, the last 2 teams are Grip and Rip.
We've definitely skipped over a team, but that's fine.
We'll get to that afterwards.
We'll get to that afterwards. Yes, Grip and Rip, I'm very high on. I was very high preseason on the Shamrocks. After a tie and a loss to Grip and Rip, seeing how Grip and Rip did against the Alexi brothers, against a team as stacked as Shamrocks, I think there's nowhere for them to go but first right now.
69ers, a team that actually waxed TCO, and when I say waxed, they smoked them. And Will Stein,
they got under their skin.
Oh well. Yeah, Will Stein had 3 OCs, unheard of in FBF.
3?
Yeah, 3 OCs.
I think 3 in 1 game.
I don't know, Eagle. Ask us, Will Stein.
His last name is not Stein, by the way.
Oh, Will Hurst.
Yes, William.
Yeah, I was thinking Stein for some reason. William
That's
Hurst.
Okay.
They won 40.
He's very easy to rattle.
Yeah, 45-20, which is victors over TCO.
He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he gets very into the game one way or the other. So
I guess
he goes over my shoulder. He's looking at me right now. It's a little bit distracting.
It is.
We also skipped over 6 Fast Guys plus Ryan.
Yes, which we'll get
I think
to.
a lot of the focus was on who they lost and not who they picked up. And I, myself included, was one of those people who fell into that trap. And not really looking at the fact that like players like Julien Fils-Cyr having Anthony Garant at 100% is really, really good for this team as well. And I think that just because they've lost players doesn't mean that they should be counted out.
Grip and Rip Playground. I seen Playground play last Sunday. Good team. I like what Gab Cote's done at quarterback, and their defense can make plays if they're focused. And when I say focus, I mean they're not taking dumb penalties or OC.
Oh, yeah, and I mentioned that before, that I think that right now the best thing for them is having Nicola Centomo on the roster because he can sort of calm these guys down a little bit. Centomo is one of the better touch football quarterbacks in Quebec. I think that he brings a lot to the table for them. He has a lot of knowledge that isn't just the here and now, which is something that Playground, for better or for worse, sort of have on the forefront.
In your mind, in the group of 2-0s, is there a finalist that you can see, hey, this is the team I'm liking right now to go to the finals?
I like 69ers, I like Six Fast Guys plus Ryan, and I do like also Grip and Rip.
Perfect season, any of these teams?
No.
Anyone close enough?
Everyone has potential. I think that we're dwelling on this a little bit too long, but I don't think that with this much depth we're going to see an undefeated team.
One team that could fall off the radar is who?